You already paid for these plants once. Then you threw away the part that could have kept feeding you for months. Root ends, stem bases, seeds, all of it goes into the trash every week, and most of it is a second harvest sitting in your garbage can. Today we're covering 10 plants you can cut and regrow from kitchen scraps. Some come back in days, others take months. Each one has a critical detail that separates the people who succeed from everyone who gives up too early. Subscribe if you want more no-waste, high-payoff growing methods. Let's get into it. Number 1. Green onion, the never-ending harvest. Home cooks across East Asia have been regrowing green onions in water for generations. It was never a trend. It was common sense in kitchens where nothing edible got wasted. Here's why it works. Green onions don't grow from the tip. They grow from the white base, just above the root cluster. As long as that base is intact, the plant treats being cut like a haircut, not an injury. It simply pushes out new shoots from the same point, again and again. Save 1.5 inches of the white base with the roots attached. Stand it upright in a glass with just enough water to cover the roots. Put it on a sunny windowsill. New greens appear within 2 to 3 days. Change the water every couple of days to prevent rot. Here is the one critical detail. Water regrowth fades after a few rounds because the plant is running entirely on stored energy. If you want a patch that keeps going indefinitely, transplant the base into soil once you see new roots forming. In soil, with actual nutrients available, it can sustain years of cutting. The downside, in low light or cold rooms, regrowth slows to almost nothing. One missed water change rots the base overnight. Next, a leafy green that uses the same trick, but with a hard deadline. Miss it, and the leaves turn bitter before you get a single bite. Number 2. Lettuce, the windowsill loop. Romaine and butterhead lettuce both regrow from a central growing point at the base. Leave about 1 inch of the base intact. Set it cut side up in a shallow dish with 1/2 inch of water, and new leaves emerge from the center within a few days. Here is the one critical detail. If you leave the base in water too long, the plant bolts. It sends up a flowering stalk, and the leaves go bitter almost overnight. Transplant into soil within 7 to 10 days of seeing roots. In soil, you get several more rounds of usable growth before it bolts on its own schedule. The downside, most bases give you 1 or 2 good rounds before exhausting their stored energy. It's a bonus harvest, not a lettuce factory. Next, a plant most people give up on just before it actually starts working. Number 3. Celery, the stubborn regrower. Celery regrowth fails for one reason. People mistake the first result for the finished product. Thin, pale shoots appear in the water dish. They assume it failed, and they throw it out. Those pale shoots are not the harvest. They're the beginning. Cut the base with about 2 inches of the stalk cluster intact. Place it root side down in a shallow dish of water. When roots thicken after 7 to 10 days, transplant into soil with just the growing tip exposed above the surface. Here is the one critical detail. From here, celery needs 2 to 3 months of consistent watering before it produces real harvestable stalks. Dry it out even once during that stretch, and the stalks come back hollow and bitter. Patience and consistency are the entire game. The downside, this is the slowest counter-gardening project on the list. If you want a quick result, look elsewhere. Next, a plant that doesn't just regrow. It rebuilds itself into an entirely new bulb, underground over a full season. Number 4. Garlic, the pantry-to-garden bridge. Every garlic clove you've ever bought is already a planting kit. A clove is a storage unit with a dormant growth point at its base. Plant it root end down, pointed end up, 2 inches deep in well-drained soil, and it transforms underground into a full, multi-clove bulb ready to eat and ready to replant again. Here's the one critical detail. Many grocery store cloves are treated with a sprout inhibitor to extend shelf life. A treated clove may rot in the soil without ever sprouting. Look for cloves already showing a green sprout at the tip, or buy organic bulbs to avoid the treatment. One clove becomes a full bulb. One bulb can seed an entire self-sustaining garlic patch within 2 seasons. The downside, full bulb formation takes 7 to 9 months. This is a once-a-year payoff, not a quick turnaround. Next, a plant that clones itself from a piece small enough that most people throw it away without thinking. Number 5. Potato. The eyes that never stop watching. Every eye on a potato, those small indented buds on the skin, is a growth point capable of producing an entirely new plant. Traditional farming cultures on multiple continents develop the same practice independently. Save a few potatoes from each harvest, cut them into pieces, and replant the following season. Choose a potato already showing small sprouts. Cut it into chunks, each with at least one eye, and let the cut surfaces dry for a full day before planting. This callousing step prevents rot. Plant 3 to 4 inches deep, eyes facing up, in loose, well-drained soil. Mound soil up around the growing stem as it develops to encourage more tubers to form underground. Here is the one critical detail. Grocery store potatoes are often treated with a sprout inhibitor. If yours shows no eye activity after several weeks in a warm spot, that's likely why. Organic potatoes are far more reliable. The downside, grocery store potatoes carry slightly more disease risk than certified seed potatoes. Manageable, but worth knowing. Next, a root vegetable where the popular regrowth trick produces something completely different from what most people expect. Number 6. Carrot. The trick that only grows greens. Here's the honest version. Cut the top off a carrot and set it in water, and it will sprout feathery green foliage. That part is real. But the carrot root itself cannot regrow. Once harvested, it's done. The greens are the plant attempting to flower and produce seed, not rebuild the storage root you ate. So what is it actually good for? 2 things. Carrot greens are edible, mildly earthy, usable in salads or pestos, similarly to parsley. And if you let the sprouted top grow through a full season, it will produce carrot seeds, your own seed stock for planting a new crop next year. Here is the one critical detail. The value here is greens and seeds, not a second root. Anyone expecting a crunchy storage carrot to regrow will be disappointed every time. The downside, carrot greens are unfamiliar to most people, and without knowing how to use them, most growers still end up throwing them away anyway. Next, a plant that looks dead in the grocery store bag but is already alive, already building energy, already ready to multiply. Number 7. Ginger, the slow-motion multiplier. Ginger has been replanted from its own rhizomes across tropical regions for centuries. What you buy at the store is not a root. It's a rhizome, an underground stem, covered in growth buds. Each bud can sprout an entirely new plant. Select a firm piece with at least one visible bud. Soak overnight if it's been sitting in a pantry. Plant about an inch deep, bud side up in loose, warm soil. Give it partial shade, humidity, and consistent warmth. Here is the one critical detail. Sprouts can take 3 to 5 weeks to appear above soil, and the plant needs 8 to 10 months before the rhizome has multiplied enough to be worth harvesting. Digging it up early is the single most common reason people think it failed. The downside, ginger has no frost tolerance. In cold climates, this is a container project that needs to come inside before winter. Next, the regrowth project everyone tries, and what those videos almost never tell you about how long it actually takes. Number 8. Pineapple, the crown that earns its patience. A pineapple crown contains an active growing point that can become an entirely new plant. Twist it off rather than cutting it to reduce rot risk. Remove the lower 2 inches of leaves to expose the stem base. Let it dry for several days. Then root it in water or plant directly into sandy, well-draining soil. Here is the one critical detail. Roots take 4 to 6 weeks to establish, and the plant then needs 1.5 to 3 years before it's mature enough to flower and eventually fruit. This is a long-term houseplant, not a seasonal kitchen project. The downside, any cold exposure can kill it outright. Without a warm climate or a dedicated indoor space, this plant won't make it to fruit. Next, the pit most people give up on, right before it actually works. Number 9. Avocado, the patient gambler. The avocado pit in water with toothpicks is one of the most attempted and most failed kitchen projects. The failure rate is high, and the main reason is giving up too early. Wash the pit clean. Pointed end up. 3 or 4 toothpicks around the middle, suspended over a glass with the bottom third in water. Warm spot, out of direct sunlight. Change the water every few days. Here is the one critical detail. The first few weeks show almost nothing. The actual sign of success is a crack splitting down the pit and a root pushing out from the bottom. Many people throw out a working pit right before this happens. Once a root appears, transplant into soil. The downside, a pit-grown avocado can take 8 to 15 years to produce fruit, and may produce fruit that differs from the parent. Do this for the tree and the experience, not as a practical food strategy. Last on the list, and the one plant where you already have the seeds. Number 10. Pepper. The seed you are about to throw away. Every pepper you've cut open came with a planting kit in the middle. Scrape the seeds and let them dry completely on a paper towel for several days. Damp seeds rot before they germinate. Plant a 1/4 inch deep in warm soil, 75 to 85 degrees, and keep moisture consistent. Peppers are slow to germinate, 1 to 3 weeks before the first sprout is normal. Here is the one critical detail. Seeds from hybrid peppers, which make up most grocery store varieties, often don't grow true to the parent plant. The next generation can differ in heat, size, or shape. For a predictable result, use seeds from heirloom or open-pollinated varieties. From hybrid seeds, treat it as an experiment. The downside, pepper plants are cold sensitive. A single late frost after outdoor transplanting can wipe out the entire batch. 10 plants. All of them already in your kitchen. All of them already halfway to a second harvest. If you stop treating the scraps as garbage. Green onion and lettuce pay off in days. Ginger, pineapple, and avocado ask for real patience. None of them require a bigger garden, a bigger budget, or skills you don't already have. You don't need to buy more plants. You need to stop throwing away the ones you already paid for. Subscribe for more no-waste, high-payoff growing methods, the kind that keep working when you're not watching.